Wow, yeah. That was worth
Mr. Mayor.
Yo,
Yeah.
I'm on the phone.
There it is. And I gotta open this man thing back. Oh my bad.
Let's see here. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Commissioner Clark, Commissioner Scott, we're going to go ahead and get started. Time is now 2:05 p.m. on September 2nd, the first September Commission meeting of the year. Madam Clerk, I'll call this meeting to order.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Call your attention to the invocation portion of our agenda, which is today, Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025, Reverend Michael A. Ford, Sr., pastor of the First Shiloh Baptist Church. After which, we would like to ask Mr. Kendrick if he would please lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance afterwards.
Good afternoon. We do bring greetings from First Shiloh Baptist Church. Thank Commissioner Clark for the invite. Let us bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we come thanking you for the opportunity to yet be on this journey called life. As we come today, Lord, with our community leaders, our mayor, our commissioner, and all of our public servants, we ask, oh God, that you lead us and guide us. We need your wisdom to operate in unity. And then, Lord, we need your power to saturate our lives that we'll be on one accord, even in the midst of our reasoning, and Lord, and debates, that we too will have, oh God, unity in the midst of your people. We thank you, Lord, for this city of Augusta. We pray, oh God, that these civilians of Augusta will be honored to be led by these, your leaders. We pray, oh God, that you would govern them accordingly, oh God. And we pray, oh God, that when it's all said and done, you be glorified in all that our leaders do and say to bring this Augusta city to a place, oh God, where they never traveled before. We thank you, Father. Keep these, your leaders, with good health and strength. Keep them, oh God, with a smile on their face as they serve your people. We thank you now, Lord. And because we believe you heard us this very moment, we now can expect to receive everything that you have in store for this city of Augusta. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Reverend Ford, you just stand, please. really appreciate you invoking the presence of God with us today, whom we truly need. By these presents, be it known that Reverend Michael A. Ford Sr., pastor of the First Shiloh Baptist Church, is chaplain of the day. May your spiritual guidance and steadfast leadership and service to others continue to be a blessing and an example for all citizens of Augusta. Given under my hand this second day of September 2025, Garnett L. Johnson, Mayor. Thank you again, sir.
Pastor Ford, thank you so much for being here today, sir. Thank you for all the great work that you do throughout our community. And thank you for that prayer. And thank you for your service to this country. As I understand you're a veteran. Thank you so much. Madam Clerk, let's move on. I think that takes us to the delegation portion of today's agenda.
Yes, sir. Our first delegation, Honorable Judge Coletta Sims Brown, regarding Richmond County's Civil Magistrate Court Free Community Resource Fair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I don't see Judge Brown in the chambers. We're going to give her a little time probably to get here. Let's move on to the next item, item B.
Okay. Our next delegation, item B, Mr. Moses Todd from I Love Augusta to discuss egregious change orders.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Todd, thank you for being here, sir. If you will, for the record, please state your name and address.
Moses Todd, 2747 Deansbridge Road, Augusta, Georgia.
Thank you, sir. You have 5 minutes.
Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, I might have had a misprint, egregious, and what I want to talk about is the $1.2 million Gator change order for dredging the Turpin Hill Springs holding pond. Gator is a great company. They're not a sole source company, but they're a great company. They do good work. The Gator is not the issue here, or their holding company. The issue is a $1.2 million change order, and a large percentage of that being public works project that's given to them where they did not go out for proposals or bids. Now, I understand that this is supposed to have been done on the premise that Gator was here, and I know they've been around since approximately 2021, 2020. I think the original contract was let in 2020 during COVID. And because they were here, it would make sense to just go on and give them this work. Then we come into the mobilization, demobilization. It didn't make any sense that if they were here, the reason we're violating policy and giving them the work, additional work, that we would have mobilization, demobilization up to the tune of approximately $300,000+. And so they done fine work at Almonds Lake, I understand, Lake Olmsted, and Warren Lake. I would urge this commission to take this additional work other than the dredging. If you're in the pond and you're dredging, it wouldn't make sense if there need to be more done, to give that to someone else. But it's my opinion that we're violating possibly state and federal law by extending these contracts or expanding these contracts without going out for proposals. I've been before you before on the wastewater extension and additional public works. That was given to another company. Well, I won't mention the name here. And it seems that this commission don't get it. I understand that in the late 90s, there was a resolution passed by the setting commission at that time that when you go over a certain dollar amount, that it would need the due diligence of the administrator and a recommendation from the administrator. Those are my comments, and I don't know what it's going to take to get this commission attention on this. You know, it seems that no one cares. Perhaps a lawsuit would be in order in federal court over violation of public works bid process. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Todd. Thank you for being here. I don't see any colleagues in the queue for discussion. Thank you so much for your comments and for being here today. Madam Clerk, let's move on to the next item, please.
Our next delegation, item C, Ms. Angela Backus, regarding resolution creating the Charter Review Committee.
Ms. Backus, while you come forward, we appreciate the work that you're doing on the Charter Review Committee. Thank you for being here today. And for the record, please state your name and address.
Angela Backus, 1437 Jackson Road, Augusta, Georgia, 30909.
Thank you, ma'am. You have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon. I'm here today to discuss concerns regarding the Charter Review Committee, or more specifically, to address the resolution signed by this body that created our committee. As you know, I serve on the Charter Review Committee, and before I go any further, I want to clarify that I'm not speaking on behalf of our committee as a whole, since only our chair and our vice chair have the authority to do so. My concerns are my own, both as a member of this committee and as a citizen of Augusta, Richmond County. Over the last couple months, there have been a total of 8 town halls for citizens to share their opinions about the charter with us committee members. I have attended all 8 of those meetings and taken notes throughout. What I have heard from our community is that they feel our local government lacks transparency, and there is specifically a distrust of this charter review process. On average, over a third of all community comments during these meetings relate specifically to what happens after our committee makes its final recommendations. Will the commission be able to change anything? Will the commission need to vote on it before it moves on to the legislature? And why would you, as the governing body, have no say in what moves forward if the citizens elected all of you to represent them? Conflicting answers have been given both to this body and to our Charter Review Committee. In the March 4th Commission meeting at the 1 hour, 40-minute mark, it was said that our committee will, quote, ultimately bring back a report for y'all to decide what you want to do at the end of the process, end quote, meaning you as the commission. Again, in that same meeting, it was stated at the 1 hour, 48-minute mark that the Charter Review Committee will, quote, come up with their recommendation for this body, and what y'all do with that recommendation, that report, is entirely up to you, end quote. In our first Charter Review Committee meeting on April the 3rd, the Carl Vinson Institute stated at the 13-minute mark, quote, you will pass your proposal on to the governing authority, in this case, the commission, who will vote on whether or not to pass the revised charter. After that's approved, the Georgia General Assembly will vote on whether or not to pass the new charter, end quote. During that same meeting, committee member Rod Pearson, at the 39-minute mark, asked if the commission would be able to modify or remove certain language from the proposed charter, and Attorney Plunkett said, quote, yes, they could. I mean, in other words, this is a reporting body, end quote. He went on to say at the 40-minute, 43-second mark that, quote, while the commission may elect not to move it forward, they would still have the benefit of y'all's thoughts, but they could make modifications, end quote. Yet at the next charter review meeting, our second meeting on April 21st, when clarification in the process was requested again, Attorney Plunkett stated at the 49-minute mark that, quote, a commissioner may give their opinion to someone in the legislative body, but this report would not be amended as to what goes to the state. The county commission would receive the report as finalized by this committee, and if they wanted to give opinions to the delegation or someone at the state level, they could, but it would not be amending this report, end quote. The resolution itself isn't clear on this process either. It states in number 15 that we will submit our recommendations to both the mayor and the commission upon completion, but it doesn't detail whether or not this governing body would have the ability to make changes or require a vote before it moves on to the legislature. Leading to even more confusion, the number 15 in the resolution refers to our committee's completed document as, quote, a final written recommendation, but in number 16, where it details copies being sent to the legislature, it is referred to as a final report.
You have 1 minute.
To many of us community members, the differing terms imply that this body will in fact be able to make changes to the recommendations made by the Charter Review Committee. My concern is that I don't believe our community as a whole trusts this process, and from feedback I have received, a lot of that distrust stems from this issue. Recently, at the beginning of each town hall meeting, I've started off by saying that we as committee members have no control over deciding what happens after we complete our recommendations, hoping that doing so will allow us to focus on charter issues. Fruit of the poison tree is what our committee has been referred to, which is why more than a third of community comments at these meetings are about the resolution. Our committee has dedicated a lot of time and effort into this process so far, and if we continue on this route without the governing body reviewing and clarifying these issues and actually verifying the intent of what the resolution was, I'm not sure that there will be a way forward.
Thank you, Ms. Backus. There's a couple of colleagues in the queue. First, Chair recognizes Commissioner from the second, Commissioner Stacy Pulliam.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. Thank you for coming before this body, Ms. Backus. My question, I honestly don't know who to direct it to. There were some direct quotes that were given. What is going to be the actual procedure after the Charter Review Committee completes their body of work? What happens after that? Could we get a timeline? And I'm not sure if Attorney Plunkett would provide that or who I need to direct that question to.
May I, Mr. Ms. Pulliam, what the resolution requires is that there will be a written recommendation, suggest revisions, which will be provided no later than March 31st unless it's extended to the mayor and the Richmond County Commission. So there'll be a document provided that would be assisted with the Carl Vince Institute with the drafting of that, and it would be a final version approved by the Charter Review Committee. A copy of the final report shall also be presented to each member of the delegation, the governor, lieutenant governor, and the Speaker of the House and chairpersons. A copy of that would also be available through the public. So after that, any proposed final recommended changes will be submitted to the local legislative delegation. So they will be receiving that document, and from that point forward, it would be either at the request of the delegation or this committee to move that to the legislative process. And that the request is that any type of proposed changes would be made through a referendum situation, okay? Some of the comments that Ms. Backus, I think, was referring was probably something that I made. And so, part of the issue is sometimes clarity as people ask a question, it's asked a second time. I still stand by what I said, but maybe a little explanation. You will receive, this body will receive the final recommendation. It doesn't mean that you have the ability to change that document itself as opposed to what goes to the General Assembly. But you as an elected official, a member of the community, can talk to your delegation as to what goes up there. I don't want to get into a debate over, well, on this minute and that minute, but generally that's the issue, is that this body that Ms. Backus is secretary of and is very active in that body, they're going to make recommendations. And this body then would, hopefully would just support their recommendations and not suggest other changes. But that's a little bit of the difficulty of the way the resolution is drafted. I wasn't involved in the drafting. I was involved in the approval process. But the issue is that you're going to have a document that goes to the body, this body. It's going to go to the state, and then the state will ultimately determine how they move forward with it. And as I said, I think you could any one person could lobby or this body could lobby for different changes. But I think that's been kind of the issue, a little bit of their concern, and it's certainly not something that has been, the body has been the review committee has certainly been vocal on trying to do that. In fact, I believe it is on the agenda possibly for Thursday for Charter Review to be talking about the Carl Vinson Institute and their method of how this would go forward.
Okay. Mayor Johnson, I have a follow-up question
Yes.
for Attorney Plunkett.
Continue, Commissioner.
Can I compare this to or liken it to when we did the homestead exemption? So we had a certain recommendation that we sent to our legislative body, and they were able, in fact, they did make a change to it. So once the Charter Review Committee gives it to the commission, we can review it, suggest any changes that we see fit or whatever. We can take those and then recommend that to the legislative body. Is that correct?
I think that's a good analogy, except for, in that regard, it went to the General Assembly, and then here, the General Assembly made some changes to the, I think it was from 3.5 to 3.5. You would be asking them to do that. That's my interpretation of 15, 16, and 17 as a totality, is that the Charter Review Committee's recommendations will go unaltered or unedited, but this body, as well as anyone else in the community, could lobby to have them make changes to it.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. Thank you, Attorney Plunkett.
Thank you, Commissioner Pulliam. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 6th, Commissioner Tony Lewis.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. Can I address, thank you, Ms. Backers, for all of your energy and work that you've put on into this committee that you are a part of. I'd like to thank you for being engaged in all of the community meetings that CRC had. Sometimes you were the only member of that body at the community meetings, in which I wish more of your committee members would have been at some of those town hall meetings. Would have given those in attendance an opportunity to have their input into what's being done by way of the Charter Review Committee. Again, I just want to thank you for all of your efforts. Mayor Johnson, can I address Attorney Plunkett, please?
Yes, sir, you may.
Thank you. Attorney Plunkett, looking at this Charter Review Committee, is it akin to being an ad hoc committee as opposed to a standing committee? Would you consider it an ad hoc committee?
I'm not trying to be difficult, but you normally think of as ad hoc committees and standing committees as a committee of a body. So the Charter Review Committee is a recommending body. It's a committee that's been opposed. It's a bit more, in my opinion, more like a authority that you appointed the members to. I would think that you would say a standing committee could be the finance committee of this body. You could create an ad hoc committee, which would be, again, members of this commission. So I don't think it really fits in either position in terms of that. However, I think if you were saying, is the Charter Review Committee going to be a permanent standing committee apprised of citizens, I think the answer is no. It'd be more of the nature of an ad hoc, in that it is being formulated and appointed for the purpose of evaluating the current charter and making any recommendations that they think would be done. And upon their making their final report, it would be essentially dissolved.
That's my point. That's my point. Ad hoc means a dissolution or dissolving of, and standing can maintain. That was my point in asking you the question. So as I understand, we know that the CRC, once they've given their final report, they will be dissolved.
Unless y'all had other duties for them. Yes, sir.
Unless there was other duties for them. Now, I heard you to say that once they give their recommendation, their final recommendation,
there are a number of entities or bodies that this report would go to. One being this body. I think you made reference to another one being the local delegation. You said the governor will receive one and the lieutenant governor. That's based on the recommendation before a final. And I think you said something to the fact that once they get it, it can come back to the local delegation, and if there's to be any changes, then those changes will be done. So my question is this: based on the resolution that we have, why would they get to look at? Why would it go to Atlanta before it's to be finalized? Before it's to be finalized, why would they get to look at it, and then we have an opportunity to make additional changes if there's to be any additional changes? So why would they get it?
Well, again, not to try to be, evasive in that regard, I wasn't involved in the drafting of the document, so it makes it a little harder. But if you were to look at number 17, which says all proposed final recommended changes and updates shall be submitted to the local legislative delegation for approval in the General Assembly. So that is the starting process, similar to, as Ms. Pulliam said, the floating homestead or.
Right.
Okay, so that's number 17.
That's 17.
And number 16 says that a copy of the report will go to a number of elected officials, the governor, lieutenant governor, speaker of the House, so they will all have copies of this document. And then 15 says that this commission will be presented with that. So this commission will receive the document, and 17 says that y'all will move that forward to the General Assembly.
Right.
Okay?
So if I recall asking a question in that particular meeting, and you did answer, I think it was part of Ms. Baco's commentary in reference to you stating that it would come to this body, and then this body would in turn do what it deemed necessary to do with it. I think my colleague asked the question, and that was your answer, and then I asked a follow-up to that particular question as well, and you assured, and you gave the same answer, that it would actually be brought back to this body, and if there's any changes to be done, that this body would make them. So do you still stand by that comment that you made, or has it changed? Because you stated that you were not one of the original persons on the resolution. So, but you made that comment made me to understand that when the committee finishes its job, they will give that recommendation to us, and we can do whatever we want to do with it.
Mr. Lewis, this came up, we've been in working with as the interim general counsel for a few months, preparing for y'all's different matters and questions that y'all may ask is a learned skill, to be quite honest with you. I was asked a question about this. My interpretation, and it may be more nuanced today, is that this body is going to receive a copy of this document. That is the document that y'all will move to the General Assembly. Whether or not this body makes other recommendations that are inconsistent with what the committee would do, this body could ask the General Assembly not to follow all the recommendations or make additional changes, okay? Or an individual person could. So I realize that's a little bit, splitting hairs at best, but what I'm saying is that these three paragraphs say the General Assembly will get what they recommend, okay? And could this body come back and make a recommendation to the General Assembly to not follow the recommendations of the Charter Review Committee? I think they could. You could. For instance, if they said, we want to have a single member, hypothetically, and I don't think it could, but let's say they said they want to have a 5-member commission. And you said that's a bad thing. 10 works very well. But you would still have to provide the 5 members because that's the report said. But this chamber could say, we think that's a bad decision, General Assembly. Adopt everything else and make sure it stays 10. But that's still not the report that they would have given. That's what has to go forward. And that's where the General Assembly has the ability to modify the recommendations and send that to the voters.
Well, even at that, this body, whatever the recommendations are, you gave one example, and that was a great example with the 5. But if this committee makes 20 recommendations and this body says, no, we don't like any of those recommendations, that's still within the purview of this body.
You would still have to send the report, though.
Absolutely, but I'm saying.
But you could say, we don't think any of their ideas are good.
So
That would be up to the General Assembly to take the advice of y'all's versus other folks as well.
So that means that when the statement was made, and once they present it, you can do whatever you want to do with it. That's part of your saying that we can do whatever we want to do with it.
Yeah, so you could make recommendations.
Make recommendations or not.
And I may have been a little casual in my statement, and I apologize for that.
Okay, well, and sometimes it's good to clear, to any ambiguities that may persist. It's good to clear the air, so we don't have any lingering, if you understand what I'm saying.
I completely, I'm afraid to say that I don't know that all the ambiguity has been resolved today, but.
And it probably, you're right, you're absolutely right.
I would love to think it was, but I think that the short answer is you'll get a report, the state folks will get a report, and people can suggest changes in addition to, but hopefully you'll rely strongly on the work that the CRC has done. They have done a lot of effort.
And I would hope so, because I would hate for them to have utilized all of their time and effort of meeting and coming up with these, and then, it become futile, So I tip my hat to the committee, thank them for their diligence in the work that they do, and especially making sure that the public knows and has a voice and an input as to what these changes or these recommended changes might be. It's imperative that we continue to allow the public an opportunity to see and to hear what's going on with any proposed changes. And I just want to make a statement. We're not, there's a consolidation bill that we're particularly under consolidation bill, but Augusta's always had a charter since its inception. So the charter, and when we talk about we need to make recommendations, the charter hadn't been changed in 200 years and things. Lots of charters don't get changed over a number of years, but we're looking at a unique piece of this legislation, which is considered our consolidation bill, where what was set up in the consolidation bill is actually what this committee is looking at. But again, thank you, Attorney Plunkett, for your candidness and answering the questions, and maybe these ambiguities may not all get resolved. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Johnson.
Thank you, Commissioner Lewis. Chair recognizes Commissioner Francine Scott from the ninth. Madam, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. I would like to ask the attorney a question, please.
Yes, ma'am.
And
Proceed.
with possible follow-up. Attorney Plunkett, you said that you wasn't in on the drafting of the resolution.
There are a number of provisions that are adopted into here. It's an 18-point document. So the original was, I believe, 17 points. There was an 18th that was added that said that this would be added to a ballot referendum that I was involved with. But the language specifically of 1 through 17, excluding the change in the March, was originally a December date. I made that edit, but I did not draft the other languages. I'm familiar with it, but I did not. I don't necessarily think that I am the greatest of drafters, but any language that's unclear, I was trying to say I didn't necessarily draft unclear language because that wasn't something I did.
Follow question.
Yes, ma'am. Continue.
Well, who was in charge of drafting the resolution?
Ma'am, I really don't know. I believe this, I got the language from the mayor's office. I believe it was somewhat written by, I think it was from the Carl Vinson Institute drafted the language for the referendum to be used. But I did not, I didn't have this, so I wasn't part of that part of it. So I think, though, it came from Carl Vincent, but my source of it was from their office.
Mayor Johnson, do you know who wrote the resolution except for 17 and 18?
I don't know, but I think it's language that was recommended through Carl Vincent.
Can we get an answer on that, please?
Yes, ma'am. They will be in town by Thursday. I can try to get it before then, but I
I'll be
certainly will
here
ask them
Thursday.
on Thursday.
I'll be,
You've been here every time, I believe, so I'll be happy
so
to
I would like to
inquire.
have it by then.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Johnson.
You got it, Commissioner Scott. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 4th, Commissioner Barnhill-Turnley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have one comment, then a question for Ms. Backos.
Yes.
Just for a point of clarification for my learned colleague, I was the vice chair of the CRC committee, and although, and Ms. Backos, please correct me if I say anything incorrect, of the 8 meetings that were town hall public comment meetings, 3 of those meetings were sanctioned by the CRC committee, and all 3 of those meetings were fully attended by all members of the CRC committee. So I want to make sure that people understand that it wasn't just one person that represented everybody, that for those 3 that were sanctioned by the committee itself, all the members attended. My question for you is, are you any clearer now than you were when you first answered your question? Because I know this has been a bone, to be quite honest, a bone of contention with members, even when I was sitting on the committee, because it was so vague. Do you have the answer that you're looking for, or do you need more explanation?
If I could just follow up on your first comment, even you're correct. Those were the 3 that were sanctioned, and every single member of our committee attended those 3.
I want to make sure they get credit for that. Now, I do know that of the other 5 meetings, members weren't invited. I don't know if they attended. I know I didn't attend any of those, especially after I was sworn in this seat. But I just want to make it known so that people understand that the committee members have been active in these public comment meetings.
Well, they were actually invited to the other
Good.
ones. And one of them I hosted myself, and we had 4 members at that one last week.
Excellent.
But we were encouraged by our chair to not only host our own, but also attend the ones that we weren't hosting together as a committee.
Absolutely.
And no.
You don't have clarity.
No, I don't. I think speaking from what I'm hearing from the community, they're concerned that whether it was intentional or not, and I'm not trying to say that it was intentional, but that not only this body was maybe misled by the intent of the resolution, because it did say that what y'all do with the recommendation in that report is up to you, and you guys get to decide what you do at the end of the process. So it wasn't actually until during our second charter review meeting, that it was said that you guys will only receive a copy. And so I think that's where, from the community's aspect, wanting trust and transparency, where they need that answer. And do I think that that answer today is going to cover it? Probably not, because they're harsh. They were hard on me even last week in our town hall meeting. So yeah, I'm not sure that that's going to answer the question for them. And that may be something that y'all need to discuss and figure out. So that you guys make sure that you were all on the same page when the resolution was voted on and signed, and communicate that to the community.
Let me ask you this then. Is the ultimate question, who gets the report first?
No, the ultimate question that I hear from the community is they elected the people up here. And we have been tasked with doing this job, which they think belongs to the governing body. So if we're doing the job, they feel like the governing body needs to have some say in whether or not that moves forward.
Do they understand why that position was not taken by this governing body?
I think they understand why the process itself wasn't done, but they're concerned about you guys not even having to vote on it in order to move it forward.
Okay. And I don't know how to answer that question.
I always just say it's a legal commission question, and I am not qualified to answer it. So, but I've been saying that for several meetings, and it's
well, you've been
no
saying that from
sufficient.
the very beginning, from the first couple of meetings. I remember you saying that. Okay. What can we do to help you understand? Or is this really a legal thing for Mr. Plunkett and his team of folk?
I think it's more about what you all, as the governing body, understood at that time. I'm not part of the commission, and I'm not an elected official.
Okay.
So it would be up to you guys to determine at that point in time, what did you understand to be the case? And does that resolution spell that out?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Turnley. Ms. Backus, I don't see any of the colleagues in the queue, so appreciate your presence here today. And again, I echo the sentiment. Thank you for your work on the Charter Review Committee. Thank you so much. Madam Clerk, let's move on to the next delegation item, please.
Excuse me. Our next delegation, Mr. Chandran Bala, regarding Augusta city government accolades and suggested improvements to help public communication to religion and education.
Mr. Bala? Mr. Bala, thank you for being here, sir. For the record, need your name and address, please.
Thank you. I'm only, I think the title has got messed up. I'm not going to speak on the second subject, but the first is communication.
I need your name and address, please.
I'm sorry. Chandran Bala, 208 Newland Circle, Evans, Georgia, 30809.
Thank you, sir. You got 5 minutes.
Okay. It's a public communication efficiency. Ladies and gentlemen, this entire county and the government is like a family. There is sibling complaints, misunderstandings, parents fight, then peace, and this goes on forever, and all of us have seen this and have grown with this environment. Summarizing, if the mayor is the grandpa of wisdom from whom we all seek advice, then the committee members are all parents, uncles, and aunts. The directors and brothers, they're all brothers, sisters, cousins, so on and so forth. And the rest of us are children of God to follow the guidance of the elders. What this means is that we all need to forget and forgive bad things and work on helping each other for a better life and progress of all of us. Accolades occur after success, criticism occurs after failures. Both accolades and failures should be taken with equal grace. In the last 4 months, I have met some good people. I think for them, their honesty and integrity to help a person in need without any discrimination. Helping was their only motive. Now, from my point of view, my accolades to the following are Mr. Guilfoyle and Mr. Brandon of the commissioners, Anita Rocard, Leslie Prescott, Samantha Thomas in the HR department, then Tamika Allen and Tonya Getter in the administrative department, and Bona Warner and Natasha McFarley in the clerk's office. Criticism to accomplish the mission accomplished for the county and the mission to succeed for the Augusta city government is to eliminate waste of time, service to the public, eliminate underpaid asset and overpaid liability. Public Policy 1.1, oath all of you have taken to serve the public, you have partly failed by not giving public time. So my suggestion is, if all of you can breathe, then it means you are all alive and well. Therefore, please allot 30 minutes of your daily time, whether with or without appointment, to hear the grievance of the public. Please follow this religiously and ask your managers and staff to do the same. Hope this helps. Most of you do have phones. You never attend the phone and you never attend any email. Please try to take care of that. CRC, that is Charter Review Committee, which has given you some outer shell and overall structure with very little guidance and to comprehend. Therefore, all of you work with utmost efficiency and hard work. Try to run this government with completely outdated and antiquated skills, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. It doesn't happen. bad practice of employment uncovered on 29th April 2025 meeting. It's the 29th April meeting. You're wasting time to employ a drug addict. Is this a talent search or this is a EEO requirement and you're trying to show you're not discriminating? Versus my son with an impeccable record and additional skills which can be useful and pollinate in the government is being rejected. Only one person, Ms. Anita Record, recognized his skill in 2 minutes. The resume was reviewed and supposed to be interviewed by a department manager who has vanished in the Savannah Prairie. Is this how you search for a talent? Trying to hire a drug addict
Mr. Bala,
and
1 minute.
overpay liability and rejecting, yes? Okay.
1 minute.
Okay, overpay liability and rejecting an outstanding asset does not bode well in any county. All of you, please think about it with your honesty and integrity to do justice. Please have a culture and develop it even if it is frugal. Take care of input, output will take care of it. World is changing and parameters are changing. You do not need state government to run you over. Now, keep your foundation strong, you'll be all right. You all need to update your skills, unlearn your past learnings, and relearn if you want to succeed. Empires and emperors rise and fall, never a civilization. I am from a civilization of 10,000 plus years of humility, honesty, compassion, and learning normal way of life and helping others. May God bless you and everybody in this august house. And I don't think you understand what I meant by august house. And august house means all of your majestic, grand, imposing, magnificent, dignified, stately, noble, distinguished, and splendid people. That's what it means.
Thank you, Mr. Bala.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you being here. I don't see any colleagues in the queue. Always appreciate your advocacy and you coming before this body. Have a great day, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Madam Clerk, we're going to go back to delegation item number A. I see the Honorable Judge Carletta Sims Brown is in our presence. And if you don't mind, let's go back to item A.
Okay. Honorable Judge Carletta Sims Brown regarding Richmond County Civil Magistrate Court Free Community Resource Fair.
Good day, Honorable Judge.
Good afternoon, Mayor and all members of the commission. Thank you all so much for having me this afternoon.
Just for the record, I know everybody knows who you are, but you just got to state who you are, what court you represent, please.
I am Carletta Sims Brown. I am the Chief Judge of the Richmond County Civil and Magistrate Court.
Thank you, madam. You have the floor.
Thank you so much. Wanted to make sure I came out to your meeting to share with the community that the Richmond County Civil and Magistrate Court, having partnered with the Georgia Legal Services, is presenting a free community resource fair on Saturday, September 13th, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Henry Brigham Community Center. This is to help our citizens discover all of the services and resources available to them to help them navigate and learn how to navigate not only our court, but to gain the resources they need to successfully manage lives, hopefully, and improve lives. We're going to have everyone, many county agencies, starting with the Human Resources Department, the Fire Department, Marshal, Sheriff, Housing and Community Development, and then about 30-some partners from throughout the community, ranging from the hub to employment agencies like Express Employment, the Boys and Girls Club. We're going to have free giveaways, bouncy houses, but the providers will be there. We're going to have medical screenings. Providers will be there one-on-one to meet the citizens at their place of needs and help them obtain valuable resources. So wanted to share, have some flyers initially to leave for the body, and we'll be doing a couple of other advertisings, but invite everyone out. To just come out, have a good time, but to get invaluable resources to network and help move the county forward and see that the court is doing things that, from a positive perspective and not always those hard things, but also to help you get through those entanglements when you encounter them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Judge. Do you have any flyers you'd like to, information?
Yes, sir.
All right, Ms. McFarley, clerk. Judge, thank you so much for sharing that valuable information, and we will make sure that we spread the word throughout the community. I think this is a great thing that you're doing. We appreciate all of your service and appreciate your attendance here today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You do the same. Madam Clerk, I think that takes us to delegation item E.
Item E, Ms. Deborah Eastep, suggestions to boost civic engagements, methods, and positive progress.
Good day, Ms. Eastep. Thank you so much for being here. For the record, please state your name and address.
Deborah Eastep, 1523 Jones Road.
Thank you, madam. You have the floor.
Good afternoon, commissioners, mayor, and fellow residents. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak today. My focus is civic engagement, something this City Hall has said many times it wants to strengthen. We all want a government that is accessible, accountable, and fair, but many of us know the frustration of asking questions and being told we'll get back to you, or being promised support for a project only for that promise to disappear. This discourages citizens and undermines trust. I want to share constructive ideas that make follow-through real and participation sustainable for both citizens and commissioners. One of the biggest barriers is follow-through. Here's the pattern many of us have seen. A citizen asks a question, a commissioner or department head says they don't know but will follow up, or they promise to help with an initiative and then silence. Weeks pass, months pass, sometimes forever, and too often, instead of giving us a clear answer, time is spent fighting over individual words or debating who is responsible for a particular job. This kind of infighting and wordplay may point to a deeper problem inside of City Hall, but for citizens, it becomes a way of avoiding accountability. People use that drama to remove responsibility from themselves, and the end result is the public never gets an answer. If commissioners or department heads can't resolve who is responsible in the moment, then they owe us clarity at the next meeting. We demand accountability. So here's a simple fix. If a commissioner or department head says they will follow up, then at the very next meeting, at the beginning, they must provide an update. If they don't know who's in charge, then by the next meeting, we expect someone to step forward and say, I'm the one who was responsible, and here is the update. If a department doesn't have the funding or others are blocking action, then the next meeting should make clear who, why, and what is being done to fix it. If the issues are too complex to answer quickly, then they take the time between meetings to prepare a live stream or a public statement. Our time as citizens is valuable. If they feel this process wastes their time, then perhaps they will begin to understand how much of our time is wasted when we sit through delays and deferrals without resolution. This prevents words from being empty gestures. It prevents grandstanding where someone earns credit for sounding supportive without delivering. It also means commissioners who are themselves frustrated when departments stall or fail to respond. This is not punishment, it's accountability, and it makes the system work better for everyone. If a commissioner, If a commissioner or department tells you they will help you or provide a service you need, you can write afterwards. I have an email provided, and you can answer, did they ever contact you? Did they follow through? What was your experience? This helps us separate surface-level promises from meaningful action so citizens can vote based on who actually delivers, not just who speaks well at a microphone. If we want trust, we have to earn it, not just ask for it. Now let's talk about participation. Most of us are not waiting outside. We are sitting quietly here in this chamber for hours. Showing up means taking buses or arranging rides. It means lost wages. It means juggling job, school, and family responsibilities. And it often means sitting for hours until exhaustion takes over. By the time a person finally speaks, they may not have the energy to say what they came here to say. And these are often the very people who need their voices most heard. That is why we should begin to make greater use of the waiting room outside. It's not our job to listen to every speech. That's the commissioner's job. Citizens should have the option to wait outside where they can rest, connect with each other, and still see when their turn is coming. Instead of being drained and discouraged, they can use that time to share resources and support each other. To make this easier, I prepared posters and flyers with QR codes that link directly to official government resources.
You have 1 minute.
They include Augusta Richmond County Commission agenda schedule, the page to find your commissioner, the official voting information site, including how to register, confirm registration, and view your ballot. Another small but important step would be allowing citizens to access food and water during these long waits. When people are here for many hours, sometimes waiting again for transportation afterwards, health and mood suffer. Hydration and nourishment matter because, especially when we want residents to arrive at the microphone ready to participate at their best, this also matters. This is one more barrier I want to mention. Many people feel the first face of City Hall is the front desk of a department. And too often that desk can feel like a wall instead of a doorway. It's my least favorite part of the job. I like talking to workers, and this is why. If that interaction is prickly or unhelpful, people feel leaving shut out. I know many workers want to help and often face burnout from understaffing and underfunding. But we have to make sure that those desks are supported and trained to welcome collaboration and not discourage it. Finally, to my fellow residents, when answers are delayed, when promises don't materialize, when the process feels exhausting, remember that democracy does not end at this microphone. It lives in how we share information, how we support each other, and how we hold leaders accountable for actions, not just words. And if the waiting room ever disappears, we already have another plan. Look for starlings. Starlings move in murmurations, thousands of wings turning together without a single leader. They adapt, they trust each other, and they cannot be stopped for this reason. It is about cooperation. It is about making sure promises are backed by action, and that citizens remain engaged even when the system feels slow. City Hall has said it wants accountability and participation, and we're here to provide both.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Eastep, seeing no colleagues in the queue. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for your statement. Madam Clerk, let's move on to the next item, please.
Our next delegation F, Mr. Clarence Kendrick,
against this charter review by trying to pass a policy and procedure manual, which is crazy. Without structure, you can't have success. This charter review committee, standalone, I attended the meeting out there at Diamond Lakes, and I heard the citizens speak, but then I hear them at the other meetings as well, and it's the same verbiage like you were saying. But on the Thursday, every other Thursday, when they have their public meetings here of 11 members, things do get done. Some of the challenge that I've seen by watching or listening, driving down the road of the Charter Review Committee, is that we have a lot of past commissioners that's part of the process, either trying to get their ideas or trying to find ways of halting the process or keep it from going, or saying you need to do it this way, or this way. We don't tell our committee people what to do. They, on their own accord, that's the reason why it's a arm's reach for us. I want them to do their job, kind of like if we had a grand jury investigation. I don't want to be a part of that jury. I want them to do the job to the best of their ability, and that's what they're trying to do. Has it been easy for any of the 11? Absolutely not. But all these little sidebar meetings and these public meetings, the 3 that was done by the Charter Review Committee was the same amount of meetings that we had for the House Bill 581. And guess what? On the House Bill 581, majority of the commissioners didn't show up. There was a handful of us that showed up because we're trying to do what's best for Augusta. But as far as this Charter Review Committee, my hand's up high for each and every one of them, including Ms. Bankos that was here today. I know that she's been, ever since she's been on that committee, she's been a proponent. I see her on Facebook all the time about the Charter Review, trying to be transparent, but I don't know how much more transparent you could be, because they hear in front of the public side, they hear being recorded every other week. There's nothing hidden. And for this process to move forward, we got to let it take its process for it to be completed. We could split frog here if we like, but my hope is that this Charter Review Committee will come back with a recommendation. I don't know what it's going to be the outcome. I hope it's a good one for the citizens of Augusta, because what the charter we had isn't working. And we all know that. If you like this government, the same old, we might as well stop now, raise taxes and do whatever. But we're not. My hand's up applauding the Charter Review Committee, and I hope they get it done in ample time and we can move forward. But Mr. Green, thank you for always caring about Augusta, and thank you for coming before us, sir.
Mr. Green, thank you for being here as always. Appreciate your time. There are no other colleagues in the queue. Is there anything you need to wrap up with before you walk away?
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say I appreciate it. And the OJs had it right when they, in one of the songs that said, give the people what they want. You know, give them what they want. I'm all for it. When you give somebody what they want, 10, 15 years from now, right? When you, 10, 15 years from now, if it's not what you wanted, you just take out the mirror and go, that's all you do. Give the people what they want.
Follow up.
Thank you, Mr. Green. There's a follow-up from
Mr. Green. I think what the biggest, the best kept secret is whatever the state brings back and put on a referendum, it is voted by the citizens of Augusta, Richmond County. It's up to the citizens if they want to see change or if they want to keep it in the dormant process that it is in. But something's got to change the outcome of Augusta. So the voters will have a say-so in this. And I appreciate you coming before us again. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Gifford, Mr. Mayor, can I?
Very briefly.
I think that's maybe one of the problems is that people have an issue. I'm not trying to speak for people, I'm not the voice of the people, but my interpretation is that was maybe one of the irritants, that something may be going somewhere before it is seen by you all. I'm just, throwing that out there. So in the end, Mr. Mayor, I just hope we can kind of clean up the process so we can relieve some of this angst right here, because these meetings are getting very contentious, and these folks are not expert on charter. They're appointed by y'all, and they're doing the best that they can. To me, I would just suggest 30 more days of it. Mr. Mayor, what do you got? Wrap that thing up, compensate them, send them home.
There's no compensation in that job, sir. It's all purely
From the city.
complimentary. Mr. Green, thank you so much. Appreciate you being here.
All right, people's business.
All right, Madam Clerk, I think that concludes the delegation portion of our meeting. It takes us to our consent agenda. Are there any additions or deletions? I do see some deletions.
We have an addendum agenda that addresses deletions.
All right, there's an addendum agenda. Do you want to either put them up so people could see them, or you want to read them? What's the easiest way?
I'll read them and she can post them.
All right.
Deletion. Item number 10, which is a motion to approve $1 million funding in the fiscal year 26 general fund operating budget to support new airline recruitment, requested for deletion by Augusta Regional Airport. Number 12, a motion to install a drain at 912 Ellis Street, which was requested for deletion by Commissioner Jordan Johnson. Item 22 is to name Coroner's Office Morgue Mark Bowen in honor of Coroner Mark Bowen, requested by Commissioner Jordan Johnson for deletion. Our consent agenda consists of items 1 through 9, with the requested deletions of item 10, 12, and 22. Also, I think Attorney Plunkett handed an ordinance in association with item number 2.
Item number 2, there's an ordinance. Madam Clerk, just for transparency, can we put this ordinance up on the screen for the folks? It's been requested from the Mayor Pro Tem. Unless we have copies. If we don't have copies, let's put it on the screen.
Yes, sir.
All right, colleagues, let's get to it. We'll get this up on the screen. This is for item number 2. All right, Madam Clerk, while it's up, the chair is going to recognize Commissioner Brandon Garrett from the 8th. Commissioner Garrett, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to consent items number 17, 18, 19, and 20.
17, 18, 19, and 20. Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Garrett. Chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem Wayne Guilfoyle.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to consent agenda item number 23, where we're doing the rollback for the military.
All right, that's also going to call for consensus on number 23.
Just for the record, Mr. Mayor, are we accepting the addendum agenda with those appropriate requested deletions?
And no objections for adding the addendum items, deleting items 10, 12, and 22. Hearing or seeing no objections, those items are added to the agenda for deletion. All right. Anybody else? On which one? All right. Ain't nobody in the queue. All right, there's a motion to approve by the Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioner from the 10th, Wayne Guilfoyle, seconded by Commissioner Brandon Garrett. Colleagues, let's vote. All right, here we go. Now we're voting, colleagues. Madam Clerk, missing 23 was requested to be added to consent. 23.
We've added 20.
Okay. All right, you got it? Are we good to vote?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's vote, colleagues. 23 has been added to the consent agenda.
Yes, sir. That motion carries with Mr. Johnson out, Ms. Rice out.
All right, Madam Clerk, let's go to item, we're going to go top to bottom. Let's go to number 11.
Item number 11 is a motion to approve supplementing construction contract of sediment dredging and disposable construction services to Waterfront Property Services, LLC, Waterfront Properties, doing business as Gator for continuation of sediment dredging and including Turtnick Spring Sediment Basin. Also approve supplemental funding in the amount of $1.15 million for Turtnick Spring Sediment Basin task. Order 2, dredging activities. No recommendation from engineering services.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I think Dr. Malik West, this is your item, right? You want to come up and...
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. So this is the continuity of the dredging work that were procured by engineering under the RFQ process 17-47. So we went through the required procurement process to get this project going. Under that, there were several water bodies which was intended to dredge, and that's what we started that work, and the work was released as a one water body at a time. So this is another water body under the same contract. There was 4 contractors qualified, 4 were qualified to do mechanical or dry dredging, and 2 were out of that 4, 2 has the wet dredging. So when we get to the wet dredging part of it, only Gator Dredging responded and submit their proposal. So that's what the work is continued, and this is the last water body we're doing. So this is the supplement work. It's not a change order. Change order is the change in the already contracted work. This is a supplement work because it's a RFQ, RFP process, not a bid. So we just releasing, as I said, water body at a time, and then there are several factors we need to monitor. So this one is the second part of the removing sediment from this body, given how much capacity we have to put those sediment and sediment settles. So each water body behave differently. So in this case, sediment settle quick, so we have additional capacity to take those additional sediment out. It will require different type of dredging, which is wet dredging, the barge and all that. So the request is to approve $1.15 million. That's what the request is today, to get that fund approved. And it's a joint effort between Augusta Utility and Engineering.
Thank you, Dr. Malik. Chair recognizes Commissioner Brandon Garrett from the A.
Thank you, Mayor. So, Dr. Malik, just to clarify, this is a continuation of services under the RFQ process. So this is just the next basin of water that we're dredging, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. And with that better understanding and it not being a change order for this amount of money, that this is just a continuation of what's already been taking place, I make a motion to approve.
All right, there's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, there's a second by Mayor Pro Tem Wayne Guilfoyle. We got another colleague in the queue, Commissioner Stacy Pulliam from the second. You have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. To ask outright, we did follow the proper procurement procedures.
Yes, yeah, we went through this whole process actually, RFQ, then RFP and all of it, yes. Yeah.
Okay, Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Pulliam. Mayor Pro Tem Wayne Guilfoyle.
Yes, Dr. Malik, if we, what happens if we don't clean the sediment out of this?
So this particular is a sediment basin serving our Highland water treatment plant, and Wes can speak more. So the discharge is under a EPD water quality permit. So we have to, Augusta has to maintain those standards. If we don't dredge it, there's not enough capacity to hold the water for extended time, and that will not give us the ability to meet those requirements because the water need to be stay there for extended time to filter out everything, and then there is a sampling point downstream. So this is very critical to complete this work from even from that point of view.
Is it causing flooding, et cetera, in this area?
It can, because if the basin is full of sediment, then there is a continuous discharge from the treatment plant. It's several, and West probably may have a good number, but it is a continuous large discharge, and that's the reason we're doing the wet dredging. We cannot do the dry dredging because the flow is very high flow. So then that flow going to continue to downstream, and it can create flooding issue. Yes, sir.
All right, as far as the cost per yardage, per tonnage, cubic yards, I imagine is how they're going to do it. What's that compared with the Lake Homestead and the Upper Lake, where off of Wheeler Road, Walton Way, and the one off of Lake Forest Drive?
It's cost within, is it reasonable? So engineering, we went through the process. The original submittal was 1.5 million. So we went and reviewed all that, previous one, and negotiated to this dollar amount. So we went through at least 3 iterations to get to this number. So I'm very confident this is comparable to the previous work we did on that. Also, every year, cost of construction and services are going up.
Yeah. So the 1.15 is actually $800,000, but they're going to have to mobilize their equipment, I guess, from New Orleans down to here, the barges, et cetera, and then remobilize it back home. That's where the additional 300.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
3 mil is coming in at. All right, and procurement's good with this?
I mean, I explained to the new director, the procurement was, they were aware of, but the process went through that, so I did,
Okay. Mr. Mayor, can I hear from the procurement director? I seen his head nod, but nobody could hear that.
Yes, sir. Come on up, sir.
30 days.
Mr. Pennick, I think this is your first time before us. You can come this one right over here. You can come right over here. Welcome, sir.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that welcoming. Today's my 30th day, and I'm falling in love with Augusta.
I love that. Commissioner Guilfoyle, you still have the floor.
Yes. So as far as this process, is it a acceptable process, number one? I know it's not a change order.
Acceptable? Yes. It doesn't violate any state laws or federal laws. I believe the funding is federal?
No, that's the...
Not federal?
No, that's the local. The majority is coming from the water and sewer.
Yes, thank you. So as a local municipality, we can do a change order, supplemental agreement as we want, because the original contract was already put out as a RFP. Typically, you don't put an RFP out, as the commission knows, for change orders or task orders, because they're attached to the original agreement.
Okay.
I have the original contract here. Looks like it was procured correctly.
I definitely appreciate that. I appreciate your advice on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pennick. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 5th, Commissioner Dunn Clark.
Thank you. Happy 30th day anniversary.
Well, thank
More to
you.
come, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
I can see the dentist now.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Dr. Malik, clarify for me one more time. I know Commissioner Guilfoyle kind of hit on it a little bit with the mobilization. So there's 3 phases of this: the mobilization, the additional dredging, and the demob. Now on the task order that we have, it says 2.02 million. But it's a difference on what's on the agenda item. What's the actual number?
So actually it's 1.15. That was I can take, my oversight. I think that was when originally we was working through the pricing. So that can be deleted. The ask is 1.15 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
And procurement, you're tracking utilities as well? That's the number?
Yes.
Is the 1.15?
Yes, it is correct.
Okay. All right. Thanks, guys. Hey, now, last question, Mr. Mayor. So this original contract was awarded and approved by this body in 2020, correct?
Yeah, we started 2017 when we qualified, but then another one, yes, in 2020, yeah.
All right.
When we said the red dredging, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Clark. All right, Madam Clerk, there's a motion to approve with a proper second. Motion was made by Mayor Pro Tem Wayne Guilfoyle, seconded by Commissioner Brandon Garrett. Seeing no colleagues in the queue, we're prepared to vote.
Reverse.
Same people involved.
Same people involved. All right. You got it. All right.
See that in Facebook for me. It's in district, what district?
It's unanimous.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Number 14.
14. Item 14, discuss what properties that HCD has either in their department or land bank.
There we
All
go.
right.
There we go.
Chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem Wayne Guilfoyle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, in light of what transpired over these past couple of weeks with our 2025 budget shortfall, either from our health cost or HCD, we got to figure out some ways of recouping some funding. My message is going to be short today because what I'm going to have to do is task the HCD to prepare some information for this body so we could look and see what action we can take, number one. I know that the HCD either has properties in their own, within their own department or actually in the land bank. So, Madam Clerk, I'm probably going to hand you this, so you don't need to write it down, and I'll hand this to you.
Thank you.
All right. My motion is going to task HCD, since Mr. Charles, you're going to be here, to prepare a list of properties that's currently controlled, managed, or is in development's inventory along with ownership of each property, the source of funding for property, and if there's any restrictions on the use of proceeds if the property is sold. In other words, Mr. Charles, if the property is funded and built by HCD and they used grant money, there's restrictions on certain grant monies that we can and cannot do. There's some houses that actually is low-income housing, but if we sell it, it can only be sold to low-income buyers to keep that as a low-income housing. So my request, my motion is going to have HCD do their due diligence and get us a list of properties and what criteria. I'm sorry.
Just counting. Just make sure we got a quorum. Continue.
Man, you done made me skip my gear.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm just
I'm
making
joking.
sure we have a quorum. I'm counting because there's a lot of empty seats
No,
up here.
anyway, Mr. Charles, so I'm going to ask the HCD department to compile their list, and it should be a simple thing. It should have within their organization what they do have.
Understood. How long do you anticipate receiving this information?
30 days, is that ample? 4 weeks?
I'll hope to get it in 2 weeks, but if not, I'll give you an update.
Let's do 4 weeks. That way we have a accurate compiled list. Because last thing we need to do is rush staff, and then they go, dang gum, I forgot about this. Yep. We don't need that.
Yep.
We need accurate and what we can liquidate and what we cannot. And it's going to be up to this body what it decides to do. Naturally, it's not going to be up to me as an individual. All right?
Understood.
If I could get a second, that'd be great.
There's a motion by Mayor Pro Tem from the 10th, seconded by Commissioner from the 7th, Commissioner Tina Slindak. Seeing no one in the queue, Madam Clerk, we're voting.
Thank you, Ms. Jones.
It's unanimous.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We need to go back. Item number 13 that I skipped.
Item 13 is reconsider the vote for waste management monthly payment option.
Thank you, Madam. Commissioner from the 2nd, Commissioner Stacy Pulliam.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. My reason for asking for a reconsideration is heavily weighed on me because of the ancillary services. And so because we do not have a definite answer on how we would fund those ancillary services outside of doing the increase, I would like to reconsider what my original vote was. I don't want to increase it. However, if I know at the time we asked the administrator what would happen if, in fact, we decreased the amount to the 450. 450 did not include having those ancillary services, how that would come about, where would the funding come about in our current budget session? May I direct a question to Administrator Allen?
Yes, ma'am, you may.
Thank you. Administrator Allen, at any point has that work been done since us rendering the first vote?
No, ma'am, that won't take place until after we start meeting with the various departments, getting all the respective budget requests in, and then we can actually look at if there's any additional funding that will be available for us to direct toward that as a recommendation.
So at this current time, we don't know if we would be able to keep those services or not. The
That is
mosquito
correct.
control, the blight was one of them as well.
And the vacant.
Demolition and
Yes,
the
ma'am.
vacant lots. Okay. So my reconsideration would be, in order to keep those services, would be the increase of the 650.
To move it to what?
In the form of a motion. Attorney Plunkett.
If I may,
I'm
Ms.
sorry.
Pulliam.
Wait, I'm not supposed to do that.
But,
Okay.
well, he was out of the, I think your motion would actually be a motion to rescind as a motion to reconsider, because you'll be
Okay.
undoing the vote of the body. So just to
Okay.
be, just a little more detailed than maybe we need to, but if we rescind it, then that would
Okay.
undo the vote from the, I think it was 2 weeks or 4 weeks ago.
Yes. So my motion is to rescind the vote? Okay.
All right, there's a motion by the Commissioner from the 2nd to rescind the vote.
Point of clarity, Mr. Mayor, point of
Yes,
clarity.
sir.
Yeah, I believe the colleague said she wanted to rescind her vote. She's not asking for
Oh,
us to.
she's not rescind the motion. You want to rescind her?
And so, okay, let me explain this. Originally, I reached out to you, Attorney Plunkett, asking if I wanted to change my vote and to reconsider the vote by the entire body. So what do we need to do in order to do that?
Having cast your vote, that's, you really just can't undo your vote from that one. So in order to accomplish that goal, you would have to rescind the vote of the body, and that would undo that vote. And then there could be a motion to, whether or not it's proper today or not, we'll have to think about that, but then you would have a new vote to adopt those rates. So you have, so you rescind it, put you back to where you were when nothing had happened. And then you have to go move forward with setting those rates. So it's two steps.
So my first motion, thank you, Attorney Plunkett. Mayor Johnson, my first motion is to rescind the vote of the body.
All right, there's a motion to rescind the vote of the body. I think we need to be a little bit more specific as to a date and a motion, right? Do we need to include that in her motion? Attorney Plunkett, does anybody have that handy?
I don't have the date of that action in front of me. Was it 2 weeks ago? I think if we were simply to say that to rescind the vote setting the rates for waste management, that would be sufficient. The clerk would be able to identify that, the vote.
Commissioner Pulliam, are you good with that?
Yes,
A motion
sir.
to rescind the votes for the rate for the haulers that was taken by this body 2 weeks ago?
Yes, sir.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I got my thing lit up.
I'm asking for a second first before we move forward. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Well, my question's going to determine if I'm going to second it.
All right, well, come on, Commissioner Mayor Pro Tem Wayne Guilfoyle.
The maker of this motion, I just want to clarify, right now, this body did the waste collection at $374.50 with no vacant lot clearing, no mosquito control, no demolition. And so you wanted to rescind this to where we could add in these vacant lots, the mosquito control and demolition?
Yes, sir.
Vote on that, to increase the fees for the citizens?
If that is what we need to do in order to keep those, I can respond, Mayor Johnson.
Yes, ma'am.
To Mayor Pro Tem. If that is what we need to do in order to keep those services, if there's another option that allows us, I am unfortunately not looking at my paper at this moment. If there's another option that allows us to continue on with those services, then we can consider that as well.
Yeah,
but I do want the citizens to be able to still have those services.
Right. My only challenge is that you putting it's going to increase by $2 million for these three items on this contract that we're going to pass on to the end user, which is not going to per se gain anything. But I might have a solution if I could ask the Dr. Malik a question.
Yes, sir. Dr. Malik. All right. Mayor Pro Tem, continue.
Dr. Malik, I appreciate you coming back into the room. I know that you had left when I seen you walk in. Ooh, good. In your contract, which wasn't in the previous contract, you have a 20% franchise fee. What is that franchise fee used for?
The contracted fee, it was not in the contract, but it was charging to the contract, which is basically is the franchise fee, which was charged to this program, and then is the other indirect costs, all of the things. So instead of, and that's in my, I've been saying my opinion, the cleaner way to do was to have what we call, or most of the other states they call, it's called contracting fee. That's what it was. So that's what it is.
What'd you call it?
Contracting fee, that you're giving the sole authority or sole service provider. So they are the sole service provider to the Richmond County, and in return, the county is charging the fee, and that fee was, so it's nothing new. It's a different wording, we can call it. It's going back to the general fund, which was previously listed as a franchise fee.
That was 6%.
And that pilot and other stuff, so it's the same thing. Yes.
Right. We were always paying landfill was paying a 6% franchise fees, I believe. Is that correct?
And a few other things, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We was getting hit. Y'all were getting hit twice by this from the general fund money. But underneath this 20% franchise fee, so the original contract was $15 million with Coastal, and then we put a 20% franchise, which should be $3 million?
For
non-compliance, I imagine it's going to be used for non-compliance
Yeah, it's going to be around
People.
that number if we want to separate, yes, sir, yeah.
Okay, so do you have use for all that $3 million funded? Can we use like $1 million of it for these other services?
That's something we can look at that. For vacant lots, we really have to adjust our cost recovery rate because
Right.
it's a cost recovery, and that will help to increase the level of service because the fee is set based on $3,000 three-man crew per week. But the new bid came, our contract came is $6,000 for the same service. So
Right.
the cost went double, but we never adjusted. So I brought it to this body, but that time was not approved. And for demolition, in reality, since we're talking about it, we have around 200 plus homes. And if we find $2 million and take care of those homes one time, and then it's really not that many added, so we can keep up with that.
Right.
So it's just
We got to just figure out how to recoup
so-
our money that we demolished the houses, demoed the houses, et cetera. But the vacant lots, I believe it'll be, I had brought this up a couple of weeks ago, is once we cut it, put out a emergent that kills the grass, weed killer, to where we don't have to touch it again for the end of the year.
Yes, sir. So we're
That would save us some money. Another thing that Brandon had mentioned, the grass cutting out there in Hetzeba, leave that tractor there and just have somebody pick up the driver. But if you could come back to us and say, hey, I could do $500,000, I could do $750,000 for demolition of houses or vacant lots. I don't know where that money's going. You do, I don't. So I'm asking you, do we ask you to come back, or because I don't think that we're going to increase this trash at all.
Yes, sir. So we have a budget meeting, work session. We mean the engineering, environment service, and administrator in the next couple of days, or maybe in a week or so.
Right.
So let me discuss with them all this option, and then
well, Dr. Malik,
with the help of administrator, I can come back maybe even end of the month or early next month to, but vacant lot again, the program is putting right now out of 350, 150, so 200 is coming from the cost recovery.
Right.
Right, so if we increase the fees, that may go 400, and we may have to put only like 200 or something to have 3 crews to really address some of the hot spots. So we already increased 2 crews now, actually, starting last month to the end of the year, once we look at the funds.
Well, hopefully with the weather changing, we won't have to do too much grass cutting, sir. But Dr. Malik, hey, I appreciate you coming back and appreciate you understanding. I hope Commissioner from District 2, she want to wait, she want to pursue increasing, or?
So it's not necessarily, Mayor Johnson, okay. It's not necessarily that I wanted to increase it. I just wanted to keep those services. And so if there was another option available to be able to keep those services, then that's the option I want to go with. But would it be too late, if I could direct a question to Attorney Plunkett?
Yes, ma'am, you may.
Would it be too late at that point? So I hear Dr. Malik saying that it's going to take us approximately a month. Is that correct? To come back with those numbers, and then we're caught up in the budget session at that point.
I think if the issue was to kind of reallocate some of the funds that are being collected without changing the amount that's being collected, we could take you can make a motion to amend that previous action, because nothing's going on, nothing's been done in reliance on it. And then when he reports back, you can make that a motion that says of that, franchise fee, so many dollars will go to blight or reduction. So I think you could amend how the allocation is without having to start over with the whole vote. So I don't think it'd be too late to wait till Dr. Malik comes back with that information.
Okay, so I hear you to say, once Dr. Malik, once we go through the budget planning process, at that point, we will figure out where the funding is going to come from in order to keep those ancillary services. And then at that point, we can come back and amend that particular item for the waste management, the cost of it.
I'm not saying that all of those services will be provided. I'm saying that you could, based on his recommendation or his information, you could make a motion that would allow for some or all or part of those services to be restored. I'm not saying that you would have to make a motion for all of it or the body would agree to it all, but you could certainly wait till that information comes back and then amend that prior action.
Okay.
Is that, the way you said it was that we're going to come back and do all these things, and I'm not saying that the body is agreeing
Yes,
to do.
because that is what I would like to do.
But that may be what you like.
Yes,
And that would be
but
the
the body
form
may
of
not
your
agree.
motion.
Okay. So
Yes, ma'am, you had the floor.
okay. But Mayor Pro Tem Guilfoyle had, and we were in dialogue back and
respond?
forth.
Yes, sir.
For Commissioner from the second, my suggestion was to ask Dr. I can't put a number saying, hey, you're going to give 1 mil, 2 mil towards this, because that money he already had set aside for some other people that's not in compliance, et cetera. I'm at his mercy for him to come back and say, hey, we could afford this, whether it's $250,000, $500,000, or $750,000, I cannot say, Dr. Malik, you're going to give $1.5 million to this. I can't do that. I can't support that. It's got to be for him to crack his numbers. He's good with numbers.
And I understood that.
Okay.
So I understand that. I understand that it will operate as any other vote. So those that are in support of keeping those services are finding a funding source in order to be able to fund all of those items that are extremely important in all of our areas, honestly. But we know where most of those demos are at this point in time. So, yes, sir. And so being able to get ahead of and be proactive, as I'm always saying, versus reactive, like let's just go ahead on and clear everything out. But I know we have to wait till that point in time. So I didn't take it as that, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Johnson.
Thank you, Commissioner Pulliam. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 5th, Commissioner Don Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, can I address the administrator?
Yes, sir, you may.
All right. Madam Administrator, when do we need to have the numbers to the tax commissioner?
Well, we know that the Board of Education has an extension, I think, until the 9th.
Mm-hmm.
So I would think that we would have to have that information to them prior to the 9th.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, and this was at the joint breakfast that commissioners from 1 and 2 did, and I haven't heard this, I don't know if you've heard this yet, but the tax commissioner was saying that we would need to make a motion to extend hours out as well so that everything would get on the tax bills in time?
Yes, sir. They have gotten that approved for the extension.
Okay.
And so now, as soon as everything is held with the the public meetings and things that the Board of Education is required to have,
Right.
then we're looking at getting everything to them. So everything has to be to them pretty much at the same time, of course.
Yeah, but with what we're talking about here, if we're asking Dr. Malik to crunch some additional numbers and all that, that's going to run us dangerously close to that deadline, right?
Yes, sir. If we're talking about changing the respective cost of what we're looking at from 450 to 650, that information we would definitely need ahead of time. We would need that probably by the end of this week, no later than the first of next week, because of the deadline that the school board and the tax commission have come up with. But if we're talking about allocation of the respective funds that's within the actual 4 million or what have you, then that could come after this. Because that's not affecting the bills.
Okay.
That's not affecting what's printed on the bills.
As long as we're not increasing it.
Yes, as long as we're not changing the cost, because any change, that file has already been pretty much built to send over to the tax commissioner's office for the bills.
Okay, and that's why I wanted to make sure that we brought up to everyone so everyone's tracking. I mean, we're on a very, very short timeline. If we're going to do any changes, I don't think, I'm going to tell you right now, I wouldn't vote for increasing it past what we already have. But we do need to go ahead and determine from whatever Dr. Malik's recommendations are, how we can come up with those ancillary services. But I said it before, and I'll stand by that. I don't think we need to add additional services to our trash bills. People are paying for their trash. We don't need to add all that. We need to keep that separate. I'm not saying get rid of it, but I'm just saying add the separation. People don't need to have these surprises because most people didn't even know the stuff was in there. And then we're still trying to forcibly put that kind of stuff in there. So let's keep it separate. I think what we voted on, folks had enough issue and grief with the slight increase. And it had been, 13 years, Dr. Malik, since we increased the fees?
Yeah, we just increased $10 when I took over back in 23, but in reality, yes, sir.
Yeah, so about 13 years, and we did a $10 increase. You can't even go to a grocery store nowadays and find anything in the store from 13 years ago, still the same price. So I just think we need to go ahead and if we can find a way to separate the ancillary, that's fine. But just remember, we're on a short timeline.
Let's do Commissioner from the second. I'm sorry, Commissioner from the second, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. You said we need to, may I direct my question to Administrator Allen?
Yes, ma'am.
Administrator Allen, you said we would need to have everything turned in by the end of this week.
Pretty much by the
Okay.
first of next week, because we have to get that file to the tax commission's
I
office.
think we already
Okay,
did.
so I think it's,
We have already created the
We
file.
already submitted.
we already created, you submitted the file already. Okay, so, but if we wanted to do that change, it would probably be around September the 9th or so, would be the very latest.
Yes, I could get that confirmed, but September the 9th is the date that the tax commissioners informed us about the Board of Education having their information.
Okay, and I understand, and I hear what my colleagues are saying, and I truly understand it. But I do want to say this. Do we know the long-term effects of the mosquito control if we don't have that as an actual service, if that money is not able to be found in the budget? Like, do we know what that long-term effect would be, not being able to allocate funds to that? But in addition to that, the demolition, Dr. Malik, if we don't have that money allocated to demolition, are we gonna halt demolitions in the districts that need it? Because those 200 houses lie in what areas?
It's mostly in District 2 and 1.
Okay.
Yeah, if there's no funding, then, like this year, there was no funding, so we just carry over initially, and then basically we cease the procurement, yeah.
Yes, sir. So right now, there is no funding to do those demos.
Yes, ma'am, there's no funding allocated this year budget, 2025 budget.
Okay.
It was just
And
carried
so,
over.
so we would be looking at no funding in 2026, and then we would come back and have this discussion again in 2027 if we cannot find money in the budget to allocate towards demolitions. Is that, Administrator Allen, is that correct? Dr. Malik or Administrator Allen?
What Commissioner Guilford asked, I can come back on I think the committee be on the 30th, September. And after we have budget discussion and see whether we can bring it back.
Okay, but at that point, it may be too late, because then yeah. We need the money for demolition, we need mosquito control, and we need the lot maintenance. We talk about those items on this dais every other week at least. Someone is putting forth an item, someone is coming before us to talk to us about lots being out of control, about blighted properties. We have to find this money, and how we find it, I don't know. I do not want to increase it. That is not what I want to do. However, I do want this body to say with an urgency behind it that we've got to find this money. We've got to get these things done. And for those that don't get a lot of calls, talk to those of us that do get where our voicemails are over inundated with the blight and the lots and all of those things. And then with the hurricane that happened, we heard the reports that came before us from Department of Public Health about the increase in mosquitoes. So if we no longer have that service, what does that look like? I feel as though we owe it to ourselves to at least know that information before we just say, well, those are ancillary services and we're gonna push them down to the bottom. And honestly and truthfully, the day I made that vote, because I can just say it, I had so much angst behind it. I really did. And I'm the one, I supported it. I supported the 450. But when I did it, I felt really bad after the fact because I know that we need those services. So that's all, Mayor Johnson.
Thank you, Commissioner Pulliam. Madam Clerk, Commissioner, you still want to put forth your motion, or are you going to wait back for Dr. Malik?
We're going to wait to hear back from Dr. Malik.
Okay, all right. All right, so we could move on. Madam Clerk, to the next item. So that would be a no action. No action. Yep, so long as there's no objection to no action. Any objection to us not taking any action on this item? Hearing or seeing none. Let's move forward. Item 15, please.
Item 15, receive an update on the revitalization plan for the Turpin Hill area in connection to GIC. I think I said that right.
Yep, you said it right.
Okay.
GIC. Commissioner Pulliam, you want to set the stage for this?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor Johnson. We have been honored to be a GIC community, which stands for Georgia Initiative for Community Housing, and the Housing Authority is on our team. So when we went before DCA to actually get the opportunity to apply to be a GIC city, we had to have certain people on the team. And Housing Authority was one of those members because now they dictate to you who has to be represented on the GIC court, the GIC team. Housing Authority has been very instrumental in assisting with GIC, and so now with the work that they're doing, they'd like to take it a step further. And so.
Thank you. Deputy Director, Doug Freeman. I just need you to state your name and who you represent, sir, just for the record.
Absolutely. Douglas Freeman, Deputy Executive Director for the Augusta Housing Authority.
You have the floor, sir. Thank you.
I appreciate that. So I'm here as a representative of the Augusta Housing Authority and as a GIC team member working with the Turpin Hill neighborhood. As part of our revitalization of that Turpin Hill area, the Augusta Housing Authority, as well as the GIC team, needs an approved revitalization plan for that area. Over the past several weeks, the Augusta Housing Authority has been working with multiple stakeholders in that area, in the neighborhood, in the community, part of this body, and members of the government. And what we're about to present to you is a culmination of that work. And so with that, I'm going to introduce Aaron Fortner from Canvas Planning Group to go over the proposed revitalization plan for Turpin Hill neighborhood.
Good afternoon. This is actually the third revitalization plan I've had the pleasure of getting to work on in your community in Augusta. Over the last several years, worked on 2 others with the Housing Authority. So this is the third. I'll just quickly highlight the real highlights from this plan. So the purpose of this plan is to come up with a plan to revitalize the community, really primarily for housing, but also for commercial and businesses that are in that community. A revitalization plan is established by DCA, by the state, as a thing that has some parameters for how it's done, what it includes. And so this is done per those standards, and it really is focused on housing redevelopment, which is why it's relevant to the GIC process. We're focusing on the South Turpin Hill area, the neighborhood of South Turpin Hill, and that's the focus of the plan. As part of our work, we documented existing conditions of the neighborhood. One of the things we found was a lack of pedestrian and sidewalk infrastructure in parts of the neighborhood, which is shown here on the map in red. Really more surprisingly, and of real significance in this neighborhood is the number of parcels that are vacant or are ready to be redeveloped. You see in this neighborhood, there's a lot of red shaded parcels, which are the parcels that are vacant. So, and that's not surprising to you, you know this neighborhood, but this is a neighborhood with, would have been a larger housing stock over in the past and in the history of the neighborhood, and now you see a lot of that isn't there. So it's a real opportunity to be thinking through what will be on those parcels in the future, which should be predominantly housing and residential. So now some of the recommendations of this plan. Number one, we think the interior of the neighborhood should be a focus for new infill single-family residential. This can be a mixture of public-private investment or just regular private investment that could come into the neighborhood to begin to fill out that housing stock and that single-family housing stock in the neighborhood. Also, the housing authority, the Dogwood Terrace parcel, can lead the way in providing new housing in the community by doing a redevelopment of their property, of the Dogwood Terrace property. This would be similar to what the housing authority has done in the past several years of taking older properties, redeveloping them, making them mixed income properties, but nice and new and quality and reflective of today's standards for building housing as opposed to the way it was done, say, in the 60s or the 70s. So their parcel is a key catalyst parcel for a new mixed income development in the neighborhood. There's a few things we're recommending in this plan that are based on tools that are used in other cities. And so two things. One is establishing a property tax relief fund, which other cities have begun to do that as a tool for legacy residents. So whenever you have neighborhoods that start to improve, another thing that can happen in an improving neighborhood is a term called gentrification, which can also lead to some unintended negative impacts for existing residents, like the increase of property taxes. So other cities to combat that are doing things like creating a property tax relief fund that are meant to be for legacy residents who would be residents who have been there for longer than a certain amount of time, that allow their property tax to be stay what it is today. And again, these are programs that are done in other places, and research can be done to see if this is a fit for Augusta. Also, an owner-occupied home repair fund is also a tool that's used in other cities for, again, this kind of a legacy resident who, as the properties around them improve, sometimes those residents just don't have the funds to make improvements to their homes over time. And so this tool is used in other places to be able to help with that. So these are a couple ideas that other cities are beginning to employ with success. And so we recommend that these would be things you would pursue looking into for this neighborhood. FYI, some of these things could be great for other neighborhoods. So that, these are things that could apply to other places as well. Neighborhood businesses, we think on MLK, it's a great opportunity for vacant properties or blighted properties to be a focus for mixed use and commercial and business opportunities to bring businesses back to this part of the city, back to this part of the neighborhood. We know the history of the neighborhood. We understand from talking with community members that there had been a point in time in the past where there were more local businesses, and we think MLK is a great opportunity to focus and bring investment in who will bring those kinds of businesses back to the community. We've identified bus stops that could be improved, working with the Transit Authority to provide just basic improvements to bus stops that make it a more pleasant and usable experience. This neighborhood has great access from transit lines, and so to better help accommodate usage of the transit lines, bus stop improvements would help. And this idea of a stormwater park. So we understand in this neighborhood that there is real flooding and stormwater issues. You also have, as we saw on that map, a significant number of properties that are vacant, that have no structures on them. You put those two ideas together of we have flooding in the neighborhood and we have a lot of land without structures on it. It's an opportunity that, again, other neighborhoods in the state have done this, of creating a solution to stormwater retention, which helps make an improvement to that neighborhood, but to do it in a way that also provides a park, an amenity to the community. This is a real good candidate of a neighborhood for this kind of thing. There are also funding sources for this kind of project through EPA, and Trust for Public Land is another organization that helps fundraise and builds these kinds of stormwater parks. This is a really good candidate, this neighborhood, for this kind of idea. So we think that's an idea that should be pursued. And that's it. Those are the highlights of the plan. Happy to answer any questions you may have about the plan. And Doug's here for the Housing Authority, any questions you might have for him.
All right, thank you, sir, for the presentation. Mr. Pulliam, is there anything additional you'd like to add?
Nothing in addition that I would like to add. Mr. Freeman, is there anything that you need to add?
The main thing I just want to point out is that we had a wonderful turnout at our public meetings that we had. Some of the members of this body, some other elected officials as well. But more importantly, we had a lot of community members. We had the Turpin Hill Neighborhood Association as part of this. We had residents of Turpin Hill participating in this, and residents outside of Turpin Hill that participated in this. So we really strive to make sure we included everybody's voice. And just as a reminder that this type of plan is not this is absolutely what has to happen. It's kind of a conglomeration of ideas of what the neighbors would love to see happen, kind of a guiding light for them to see how they want their neighborhood redeveloped. And so that way, when development starts coming to this area, which is the goal of the GIC team, that they have a say in what that development looks like. So we think that's really important to point out.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Mayor Johnson, I would like to say we've been working really, really hard as a GIC team. We've been meeting once a month. We are very engaged as far as with the retreats that we have to attend and to sit in those retreats, and we see how other communities, they're doing exactly what Mr. Freeman just presented. They are transferring their, just totally making the communities look and thrive the way that was depicted in these pictures. And the great thing about GIC is it's something that can literally be rinse and repeat. So this is not something just for the Turpin Hill area. You can take this blueprint and you can put it anywhere in the city. Of course, you may have to tweak it depending upon where you're placing it, but it's something that can be done. Turpin Hill needs this. We do, which is why, obviously, our application got approved and we got on as a GIC community. So not only do we see it, those individuals that live in the Turpin Hill area, but DCA saw enough to say, you know what, this can actually work here. So just thank you so much, both of you. Thank you for your presentation, and Housing Authority, thank you so much for what you continue to do as a partner with the GIC team.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Commissioner Pulliam. All right, Madam Clerk. Takes us
I'm sorry, Mayor Johnson.
Yes, ma'am.
I apologize. We have to approve, we have to approve the actual revitalization plan.
Receive an update. So is there a motion to approve?
So yes, sir. Motion to approve the revitalization plan, which is being, Mr. Freeman, could you please clarify that?
We're requesting commission approval for the revitalization plan as presented.
Okay. So it's a request for approval of the revitalization plan that is done by the Housing Authority.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and there's a second. Commissioner Clark, you're in the queue, sir.
Yeah, I get a point of clarity. The agenda item says receive as an update. It doesn't say that we're making a motion. Usually if we're going to make a motion on something of this magnitude, there has to be public notices, there has to be notifications and so on. Tell me if I'm wrong, someone. But I don't think we can just make a motion just flatly based off of this presentation. General Counsel, can you clarify for me, sir?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I think it would be more appropriate to circulate a copy of the plan to everyone and then bring this up at the next meeting to approve the plan. The summary was very helpful, and I think everybody understands what was the intent, but just for public purposes, we need to have the plan available. So I think the appropriate thing would be accept this as information today and then have the clerk put this on as the next cycle to approve the actual plan.
Would that go to, I'm sorry, Mayor Johnson?
Yes, continue.
Okay, would that go to committee on next week?
Into the commission.
I think you go,
So it
since
would
it's
go
already
back
been
to the
heard
full
today,
commission?
I think it probably, the body's familiar with the matter. I think you could go to the next committee cycle with that, I mean, commission cycle. Is there, if I may ask?
And so I would like
Is it
to
an urgency that it needs to be adopted?
Yes, it does, which is why it was on committee on last week. However, we did not have a quorum. So that is one reason why it wasn't heard on last week, because the quorum left.
I think that if there is urgency, then we could probably add it to Tuesday's special called meeting if we were able to get a copy and distribute the plan prior to that time, if Tuesday is timely enough.
Mr. Freeman?
Mr. Freeman?
Not have it in front of me, what is the current, or the next schedule? What are those dates?
If I may.
Yes, sir.
We have a special call meeting Tuesday, a week from today. And so if we were able to circulate the plan so everybody could see it, we could take it up on next Tuesday's special call to meeting.
What would be and we could definitely do that, but what would be the next regular meeting?
The following.
16th.
Of September? I'm okay with that. That's, either way works for me.
Okay.
If there's not a great urgency, it would be better to go on the 16th.
You good with that? What's the sense, what's the need for the data? You trying to gather some grant dollars or obtain grant dollars, or what's the reasoning?
That's correct. We have an application for funding for the redevelopment of Dogwood that is due first part of October.
Perfect, all right, great to know. All right, Commissioner Clark?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I still have a need for understanding. So it's great we're talking about revitalization and everything, but I think we still owe it to the constituents to get community buy-in. And I believe when you all are doing anything, don't you have a requirement that it has to be public notifications put out in so many days? You have to get community feedback and so on before we can move forward with anything?
Well, Commissioner, to their benefit, the GET community and their group has been meeting regularly. Now,
The community has, but I'm talking about the community, though, that this is going to be impacted by.
Yes, it includes the Turpin Hill community. They have been meeting. Now, I don't know if this plan has been presented. I'm imagining it has been presented. Commissioner from the second, can you verify?
Yes,
It has been
yes. So
presented.
we notified GIC is so involved now, even with the neighborhood association, that entire area, Turpin Hill 1 and Turpin Hill 2, as well as we've invited members of the Nellyville community as well, because Nellyville actually sits right behind Dogwood Terrace. So we've been consistently engaging and asking members to come out to hear this. It's part of, well, the revitalization plan is separate, and I don't want to speak too much. So Doug, if you could just explain the connection with Dogwood Terrace as well as this revitalization plan, because it's all necessary for you to continue on.
That's correct. So the first part of your question regarding the engagement of the community, absolutely, we sent out many different invites at every one of the meetings that we've had regarding the revitalization plan. We've had members of or residents of Turpin Hill and the surrounding communities there at those meetings, weighing in, giving us their opinion, giving us feedback on these. So we've done our best to try to get those residents in, and I think we've been successful at that. So this is specific to that particular part of Augusta, but we also had residents from outside of Turpin Hill showing up at these meetings as well. So that tells me I think we did a pretty good job of getting the word out that we were having this discussion. As far as where it fits in with what we're doing specifically to Dogwood Terrace, part of what we do when we go to do a mixed income development like this is we want to make sure that we're fitting into the community around us. And so by having this revitalization plan in place that gives the kind of the blueprint of what the community wants in that area, we can make sure we do our design that fits that meets those needs of this community, that meets the needs of Augusta and the greater area.
And will you also, I'm sorry, Mayor Johnson, if I can address Mr. Freeman?
Yes, ma'am, continue.
That this is in fact a plan. It is not 100% set in stone that this is what is going to.
These, a revitalization plan like this are guiding principles. They're not an actual something that we would take to the planning department and say, here, approve this. So whenever us or anybody else wants to come in here and do development work, one of the things the city can do is they look at the revitalization plan and say, does this meet what we said we want in this area? That's one of the main purposes of having a revitalization plan like this.
Which is why we continue to include the members of those communities to weigh in on this. And so we would have done more of this in committee last week, Commissioner Clark. My apologies, but Administrative Services did not meet, and then we would have been voting on today.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, can I respond? Yeah, only reason I'm asking folks is because I don't think any of us were tracking that this was a motion that we needed to vote on. What was in the agenda is receive it as an update, and that's what was in the committee as well. It was never mentioned about a motion. It was never mentioned we had to vote on something. And it definitely was never mentioned that there was a timeline associated with this. So right now we're going to say we're going to make a motion based off of, so we're going to alter what was in the agenda to make a motion on that? Because right now it says receive an update. Well, I'm just asking for clarity.
Well, we've determined that they're going to move it back a couple of weeks to give this an opportunity to engage the communities and the public.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Commissioner Clark. Commissioner Garrett from the 8th. Commissioner Garrett.
So in reference to moving it back, does that require the motion and the second being taken back?
It does require rescinding the motion in the second, if that's all right with the commissioner from the second.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. I know you just pointed out that you haven't talked to planning and zoning. This is just a concept plan. What is it about this that needs approval for you to move forward? I'm just trying to understand because, we've seen other concepts come through that have already been through planning and zoning and have their input. And you're also talking about a stormwater park. So have y'all even met with engineering and utilities to see if that's feasible? Or I'm just trying to figure out, what is it that we're actually attempting to approve here?
So I think going back to what the definition of the revitalization plan is it's a list of things that could happen, not a list of things that will happen. And they're all very, very high level, so not to the point of going to get permits or specific approvals for specific things. So for example, on our part of it from the Augusta Housing Authority, we're going to be concentrating on the Dogwood Terrace redevelopment. So if we are funded to redevelop Dogwood Terrace, then we'll engage in an architect and engineering company to draw up plans, present those to planning and development, similar to what we've done for other development jobs that we've had. So this is kind of like the very beginning steps to say, these are the kinds of things we would love to see in this area, put it out there, make it official, and then us and other developers can look at that and say, okay, yes, I want to do that. Or if somebody's wanting to come in and do something of that, they can balance it against this or hold it up against this plan to say, yes, this meets what the community wants.
And once again, what is it that you need our approval for?
Approval of the revitalization plan.
Which in essence doesn't do anything but give you an opportunity to move forward with it? I mean, I'm just trying to understand. I mean, I've seen other areas revitalized in this city, and
so when we go for funding, one of the things, because it's a competitive process, one of the things is that we will get out of this is an additional point or points on our funding application for this by having a revitalization plan that was presented to the community, that had feedback from the community and was approved by this body.
okay, I'm just trying to understand before we vote for something that I don't fully understand. I'm just trying to make sure that we're all tracking on the same page because this is just a different approach than what I've seen in my 7 years being up here.
Yes, sir.
All right, so the commissioner from the second has rescinded her motion. Attorney Plunkett.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, since this works good on the 16th, if it would be permissible, I would like to meet with the Housing Authority's attorney, Mr. Cosper, between now and next week's committee meeting. I understand, I think that some of the issues that we oftentimes have to have public hearings for such an urban redevelopment plan. I can confirm what needed to happen or what needs to be done, and then I can give you all some feedback on next Tuesday, and then we can vote on the plan on the following Tuesday, which is the 16th. And I think that may help everybody have a little better understanding of what this body typically does and what the request is from probably more of a DCA qualifications standard, and it's just we need to reconcile those two, and we can certainly do that by next Tuesday if it was on the committees.
Thank you, Attorney Plunkett. Commissioner Clark?
Mr. Mayor, let me address the attorney on that. If we could just really understand the process, right? Because I don't want us to piecemeal this. I like to know end to end what our roles are. I'm not as informed as Commissioner from the second about the gig process or this revitalization, but it probably will help all of us to know end to end what this process is. Because right now, we got surprised with this piece today that we were supposed to be voting on something, and then what's next?
I'll be happy to give a kind of a simple summary. I think part of the issue is that we're using similar words, redevelopment and plans and things of that nature, which different bodies use in different ways. But I think it's an easy, I think we can reconcile it very quickly.
Okay.
Probably more be a form of a single page that we'll supplement for the committees that y'all can see. But I think that's easy enough for Chris and I to take care of.
Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Director, Mr. Freeman, has the Augusta Housing Authority Board approved this plan? Are they aware of it?
They're aware of it. They have not approved it.
Okay, when is the approval required by them?
I'll have to get back to you on that. I don't know the answer to that off the
Will
top of my head.
will their approval be needed prior to it coming to the governing body for approval?
I don't believe so, but let me double check on that.
Okay, but they are aware of it?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you so much. All right, Attorney Plunkett, the commissioner from the second has rescinded her motion, and we're going to move forward with you engaging the attorneys and working this out, and you will report back to us next committee cycle. This is the process.
I believe so, and I think then the posture would be to just accept the report today for information purposes.
All right, so can we do that without objection? Is there any objection? Hearing or seeing no objection, today's report is received as information. Madam Clerk, number 16.
Item 16 requests the administrator provide a schedule of all commission direct requests with a deadline and have information technology provide a quick access link on an internal and or public-facing document that is consistently updated with new deadline requests.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Commissioner Pulliam.
Thank you so much, Mayor Johnson. I had the opportunity to talk to Administrator Allen on this agenda item, and with updates that she consistently provides to the commission. My reason for wanting to do this is because we are consistently telling her, you have 30 days to do this, you have 60 days to do this, you have 90 days to do this, but are we sitting here keeping up with a calendar? I feel as though everyone's not, because we will bring agenda items back up not knowing where we're falling in the deadline date for her to bring back recommendations. Administrator Allen, can you give the suggestion that you gave that we discussed earlier? Mayor Johnson,
yes,
may I address it, Administrator Allen?
Yes,
Thank you.
Administrator Allen.
Yes, so we talked about the actual items that come from the governing body that are action items for us in administration to follow. So what we can do as part of the updates that I do provide is make sure that we continuously keep some of that information a part of that so that you can see some of the major projects that we're working on that you guys have, the governing body has asked the administration to do.
And one of those items that I even talked about was lot maintenance. We're talking about lot maintenance all the time, and we're consistently tasking the administrator's office with, can you get us a schedule? Can you tell us how much this is going to be in the budget? And she's already working on it. So if we could just have, I likened it to a school calendar of sorts, just something that's going to give us a timeline. So nothing, no type of daunting task, just an update so we know where it falls. So before we even make our agenda item, we can check with her and say, Administrator Allen, where are we at on this? Unless it's something that definitely needs to come before the body at that point in time. So motion to not necessarily do the information technology piece, but just so that the administrator's office can, so my motion would be so that the administrator's office can provide a consistent update on new deadline requests that the commission has given her.
Minister Allen, do you have any feedback regarding this? Is there anything that?
We could incorporate that in the respective updates. And it's just the, and if I'm correct, Commissioner Pulliam, just the administrative tasks that have been assigned to the administration as far as the respective timelines.
Okay.
So it wouldn't include any department heads or anything like that, just the administration, what we're working on.
Administrative task, all right. The commissioner from the second has put in a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, there's a second by Commissioner Barnhill Turnley. Madam Clerk, we're prepared to vote.
That motion fails 5-4, with Ms. Turnley voting yes, Mr. Lewis, Ms. Scott, and Mayor Johnson. Voting no, Mr. Clark, Ms. Slindeck, Mr. Garrett, and Mr. Guilfoyle.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's move on to the next item, please.
That would take us to 21.
21.
Discuss and approve the installation of a memorial display at Heroes Overlook to honor the 7 lives lost during Hurricane Helene in Augusta, Richmond County, Georgia.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I think that's one of my items. Colleague, as we, today is day 340 since September 27th. Almost every day I think about that day and how so many families were affected because of Hurricane Helene. And I think it's more than appropriate that we put up a memorial to them. And I have, for your viewing, a copy of that memorial that will go at the Heroes Overlook as soon as Ms. McFarley gets it on the screen. All right, this is the ceremony, but do we have a copy of the memorial?
We have it on here.
Okay. This is a copy of the memorial that will go at Heroes Overlook. 7 lives. I know their bios almost specifically. DeVario Carter, Stephen and Isaac Donahue, grandfather and the grandson. Yoon Lee, who was a researcher over at Augusta University in the Medical College of Georgia. Catherine McCall, as many of you know, is a noted local artist. Andrea Warner moved to this area to be with her son, who was employed out at Plant Vogel Units 3 and 4. And Kathy Wright, who I just learned today, she was a gardener, and she volunteered her time at the Lucy Laney Museum of African American History. And I think it's more than appropriate that we put this as a memory to them and something that lets us not forget, all of lives that were affected by Hurricane Helene. I think it's more than appropriate on September 27th that we do this. So I'm going to ask for a motion to approve so that we could honor and remember those 7 families that lost loved ones.
So moved.
There's a motion by Commissioner from the 5th, Commissioner Don Clark, and second by Commissioner Barnhill Turnley. Madam Clerk, seeing no colleagues in the queue, we're voting. I'm sorry, Commissioner Scott.
One question, is this the final markup of the plat?
Yes, ma'am, it is the final markup of the plat, and we need to put it back on the screen. All right, let's put it back on the screen, please. It's very similar to the COVID memorial. All right, Madam Clerk, we're voting.
Did they say 2024 or 2025?
Said 2024, and you put it back up.
2024. Dedicated. Dedicated in 2025.
Okay.
The motion carries with Mr. Johnson, Ms. Pulliam, Ms. Rice out.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'm going to take a brief moment of personal privilege to Commissioner Catherine Smith Rice was not with us today because today is her 2nd wedding anniversary, and she and her husband took a trip. So she wanted me to let everybody know that she's enjoying her wedding anniversary. Madam Clerk, I think that concludes our business, does it?
Yes, sir.
If that does, this meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you so much.